Welcome to Polyglot's Language Academy. I'm Tim Darwinkle. Today I'm reading Conversation on Conversation by Harriet Beecher Stowe. This is an adapted version for beginners. The original text and an intermediate version are available at polyglots.co. Let's begin. For every idle word that people speak, they will give an account on the day of judgment. It is Sunday noon. Miss B, her cousin Helen, and their Uncle C sit down to dinner after church. A very serious sermon, says Miss B. She sighs. If we must answer for every idle word, many people will have a lot to explain. Cousin Anna, says Helen, what are idle words? Words that are not truly useful, says Miss B. Then I'm in trouble, says Helen. When I try to say only useful things, I stop talking. A room of people all trying to be useful is so dull, like old clocks ticking. We might as well make a promise never to speak. Maybe much daily talk should be left out, says Miss B. The Bible says, with many words comes sin. My conscience often warns me about my tongue. Well, I don't think you sin that way, says Helen. But it feels cold when friends just sit and think. I don't feel it is wrong to chat for company. If a friend visits in the morning, I talk about the weather, my roses, my canary, whatever I think of. And about lace, bonnet patterns, and new fashions, says Miss B, a bit sharp. Yes, says Helen. Where is the harm? Where is the good? Says Miss B. It makes my time pleasant, says Helen. It helps us feel friendly. If you saw Christian duty more highly, says Miss B, you would not be pleased with only pleasant. The verse says we must answer for useless talk. Helen looks serious. If that is the meaning, the rule is very hard. Duty is hard, says Miss B. The way is narrow. Helen turns to their uncle. What do you think, Uncle C? I think we must be clear, says Uncle C. Anna, do you mean we should never say anything unless it directly helps someone? Yes, says Miss B. I suppose so. Then, when I say, Good morning, it's a nice day, that does not teach anything, says Uncle C. Are those idle words? "Mm, Not exactly, says Miss B. Sometimes we must say something so we are not rude. Then you agree, says Uncle C. Some words are not useful by themselves, but are needed to keep friendship warm. So, when visitors come, it is fine to talk about roses, birds, even lace and hats, just to make conversation. It is like saying good morning. It may not teach, but it helps people relax and feel kind. Making people comfortable by innocent talk is not a bad thing. But isn't there a danger of becoming silly? Asks Miss B. There is danger in every good thing if we do too much of it, says Uncle C. We can eat too much, drink too much, talk too much. Helen might talk too lightly, but you, Anna, face another danger. What danger? Asked Miss B. Keeping yourself serious all the time, says Uncle C. The mind needs rest and variety. If you allowed yourself even one cheerful hour a day, some light talk, and a good laugh, you would be happier and a better Christian. I try, says Miss B, but if I joke or laugh, I feel guilty later. Then decide this first, says Uncle C. Cheerful, harmless talk, talk that aims to amuse, is useful in its place. If you accept that, your conscience will be quiet. But what good does it do? Asked Miss B. You often say you feel cold and lifeless, says Uncle C. That comes from pushing one kind of thought too long. A short change, bright, friendly talk rests the mind. Then you return to serious things with new strength. But doesn't the Bible forbid foolish talk and jokes? Asks Miss B. If you read the whole passage, says Uncle C, it forbids rude and impure joking, not all humor. Clean, lively talk at the right time is not foolish. People say Christians should not be cheerful, says Miss B. Some misunderstand faith, says Uncle C. They think cheer breaks the rules. Others joke all the time, so people think they never think seriously. But if someone truly shows Christian love and self control, a little bright talk does no harm. It will not make them seem fake. Also, says Helen, sad, gloomy believers can push people away. True, says Uncle C. If a person is silly all the time, people say they have no religion. If a person is gloomy, people blame the religion. As Miss E. Smith says, to be good and disagreeable is high treason against virtue. The more sincere you are, the more important it is to be pleasant. But, Uncle, says Helen, what does the first verse mean? What are idle words? Read Matthew 12, says Uncle C. Jesus was not correcting small talk. He was warning against a serious lie. The Pharisees said he worked with evil spirits. He told them they would answer for the results of such words, even if they spoke in jealousy or anger. In short, God holds us responsible for what our words do, even when we speak carelessly. For example, says Helen, if someone makes quick, careless claims about the Bible that cause doubt. Yes, says Uncle C. Or when we pass on talk about a person without checking if it is true. Our words start rumors, then come hurt, anger, and a broken name. We spoke carelessly, but the harm is real, and God holds us responsible. Believers may speak loosely about each other. Listeners then doubt all religion. Parents may joke about a minister in front of children. They weaken the child's respect and may block good influence. People may come home and pick apart a sermon in front of others. A listener who was almost persuaded loses respect and gives up. The speaker meant nothing, but the harm is done. A lot of harm happens to children this way, says Helen. We just don't think. This view feels heavy, says Miss B. Won't it make us almost silent? People react so differently. How can we know the result of our words? We are responsible for results we could have guessed with care, says Uncle C. We are judged for idle words. Words thrown out without thought that cause harm. If you truly want to do right and still misjudge, that is different. But won't this carefulness kill free, easy talk? Asks Helen. When you talk to a dear friend, says Uncle C, don't you try not to hurt them? Yes, says Helen. Does that care ruin your joy? Asks Uncle C. No, says Helen. And you avoid rude or impure talk by your own feeling, and it does not spoil your talk? Right, says Helen. Then learn Christ's character so well, says Uncle C, that you naturally avoid what would displease him. If someone feeds jealousy, anger, revenge, or is always worldly, or likes to doubt everything, their talk will harm. Jesus says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. A pure heart will not run into rude words, even in high spirits. In the same way, a heart trained by Christ's will, without painful watching, avoid talk that injures others, even in the freest conversation. That was Conversation on Conversation by Harriet Beecher Stowe. Thanks for listening to Polyglot's Language Academy. For transcripts, leveled versions, and more free resources, visit polyglots.co. See you next time.